What's up, y'all? I'm still out here at the range, as you can see behind me, on this cold, breezy day. A little bit chilly out here. It ain't too bad when the sun's out, but as you can see, this right now is the time of day where that big old pine tree is about to block out the sun. So it's definitely gonna be a little bit chilly, but this one should be a pretty interesting 45 Colt test. So I got the jelly contraption bundled up for one more test with a couple of chronos and 2 blocks of gel. Now I've done a couple of tests so far. They got a little bit crazy, but plenty of room still up front to get this one done. Couple little straggly pieces, but I don't think that's gonna cause me any kind of problems. I'm using a heavy clothing barrier, of course, with a layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. And what we got for this one is a couple of different rounds of 45 Colt. It's been a little bit since I've done any 45 Colt tests, and I don't think I've probably tested but maybe 1 or 2 rounds total. So I figured I'd bring out a couple of choices from Underwood. Now the first one we got here is item 433. This is their 250 grain XTP load. It's supposed to be going 960 feet per second. I didn't see any kind of test barrels on either one of these, so I'm not sure about that. And then the other one we've got here is the item 731. This is their hard cast Wadcutter. Now this one's supposed to be moving 1,050 feet per second, but it's a little bit lighter. It's 225 grain where the XTP is 250. Now as far as energy, if we meet these velocities, both of these are going to be over 500 foot-pounds. The Wadcutter is going to be over 550 even if we hit that velocity. Here's a look at your cartridge. Both of them nickel-plated cases, but obviously a big difference on the projectile. One of them's the Innie and one of them's the Outie. So you got the Wadcutter there, the hard cast Wadcutter. It is coated with their high-tech coating. They call it their black cherry high-tech coating. It's like a polymer blend coating, so pretty nice coating on it. And then obviously you can see you got the XTP projectile there on this one. Not a very deep cavity at all on that, so at 960 feet per second, I don't know about that. And as far as what we're running them out here, I'm pretty limited on my 45 Colt tools. I don't actually have anything that's dedicated solely 45 Colt. Everything I have is multi-cal, like the Judges or my 460 Magnum, stuff like that. So I decided to go with this Judge. This is the 6.5-inch barrel Judge. Now obviously it's not going to be the most efficient because your cylinder jump and all that good stuff, but with a 6.5-inch barrel, that's probably a little longer than a lot of people would run if you're running it out of a handgun. So I figured this will show us what we need to see anyway. So this ought to be pretty interesting. I have to say, I'm really not expecting the best results out of that XTP. The Wadcutter, we don't have to worry about expansion, obviously, because it ain't going to expand, but at 960, even if we see that, which I've got my doubts before I see this chrono, I'm not too confident in the performance there, but hopefully I'm wrong. Let's get it all set up and see what happens. All right, let's see how fast this stuff's moving out of the Judge. I'm going to do a 5-round average from each of them, starting with this XTP first. Now, if y'all aren't familiar with this lab radar, you're going to see multiple readings from it. The large numbers right here at the muzzle, and then you've got 5 across the bottom. The first one there is set for 3 yards, which is roughly where my gel is here at 10 feet. And then I've got the other set for 10, 15, 25, and 50 yards. Now, remember, the box is claiming 960 on this stuff, but I don't have any idea what barrel length. So being that and being that just the nature of this Judge, probably not going to quite see that. Feels pretty decent. 879, 918, 940, 943, and 903, so not the 960 for whatever reason. It could be from a longer barrel, could be a little bit of loss from this Judge, but not too far off anyway. Let's check out the average. All right, so our 5-round average right there was 917 feet per second. We had a 65 extreme spread with a standard deviation of 26.8, so quite a good size spread there. 917, we did have one as high as 943, so not too far off from that 960. Again, I have no idea what that test barrel length is, so I don't know how far off we are from that. Sadly though, that still doesn't change my opinion of what we're gonna see right here. That kind of velocity with a big old chunky XTP, I just don't have the best hopes for that. But let's get everything reset and see what that Wadcutter does. All right, let's see what these Wadcutters do now. Remember, these are saying 1,050. Again, I have no idea what barrel length, and they're 25 grain lighter, 225 here versus the 250 on those XTPs. Well, let's see what these do. 1,013, 996, 987, 1,007, and 993, so definitely not the 1050. Let's check out that average. All right, so that time with the Wadcutters, our 5-round average was 999 feet per second. We did have a high of 1013, so not super far off of that 1050, but I guess about the same distance off that we were with the XTP from what it was claiming. So 26 extreme spread with a 10.7 standard deviation, so a little bit more consistent right here. That could just be random chance, but 999, and if you remember on the XTP, it was 917, so you're talking about 82 feet per second difference, so creeping up there on 10% difference, so probably significant. Now, totally different projectiles, so it's going to be really hard to compare as far as what velocity did or didn't do. I'm still saying, though, that XTP at that velocity with that big old chunk, I don't expect the best. Now, the Wadcutter, obviously, we don't have to worry about expansion area. It's probably going all the way through, but I could be surprised. Let's get it all set up, and y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, it's Judgment Day jelly time. I'm gonna put one of each into the gel, starting with this 250 grain XTP first. Again, I do not have high hopes for this right here, but maybe I'll be wrong. I can't really tell what I got. Let me go check it out. All right, that's about what I figured we'd see down there, unfortunately. Not really what you were supposed to see. Well, let's see what this Wadcutter does. I got a feeling we're gonna see more penetration from this here. Oh yeah, I saw the towel move on that one. Let me go check it out. All right, let's check out what we got down here, y'all. Another case where I have to say I'm not really surprised by anything I'm seeing down here. On the top, that was the XTP. As you can see, this one comes in here and does a bunch of tumbling. I mean, all of this disruption, this big disruption you're seeing right here, all of that's tumbling. There's no doubt about it. It goes all the way through this first block into the second block, nearly halfway, and it's sitting down here backwards with no kind of expansion, although it does look like maybe one of the outer petals peel back, but that's probably because of all that tumbling, if I had to guess. And then of course down here below that, that's the Wadcutter. Now that one did exactly what it's supposed to do. It comes in here, you do have some disruption, but not a huge amount, obviously, because it's just a 45 cal size projectile. It didn't expand, but you got some disruption through there all the way through the first block into this second block. This one goes about 2 inches shy of that XTP, and obviously no kind of expansion, but it does look like it's mashed out some. It could just be an illusion because of being in the gel, but it looks like you got some kind of deformation from it. So as far as the penetration measurement on it, the XTP is out here to 24 inches. So massive penetration right there. And you just got it for the wrong reason. Again, it just tumbled all the way through here and ended up backwards. And then the Wadcutter, the forward momentum on that stopped at exactly 22 inches. So fantastic penetration right there, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And here we are up close. Again, the top, obviously the XTP, this bottom one was the Wadcutter. Now from this side, it looks like a tiny little bit of disruption from that Wadcutter, but it's just a case of where you're looking at the skinny part. I'll show you from above. Now it is a much smaller than all that tumbling right there, but that tumbling was not supposed to really happen with a HP, expanding HP. As you can see, all the way through that first block into the second block, there you go, the XTP, and then there right there's the Wadcutter. And if we look from above here, you can see what I mean. If you look down below, that's that Wadcutter, much bigger looking at it from this direction. All the way through this block again for both of them. We'll follow it on through here. There's your Wadcutter. And then there's the XTP, and I think you can see from this angle what I was saying about that pedal being peeled out. All right, let's take a look at these projectiles. Obviously, no question which is which, the hard cast Wadcutter here and the XTP here. Now, as you can see, the XTP tried to do a little bit of something, but again, if I was guessing, I would say that only happened because of the tumbling, just tumbling around, and the momentum just caused some of that to peel out. I could be wrong, and it could just be right on the edge of expanding, but more than likely my guess would be that just happened from the tumbling, and you're not going to get any expansion at those velocities. And in the Wadcutter, of course, no expansion was expected here, just a big chunky cylinder of lead. This one here, though, you can see it's completely solid all the way through, whereas that 32 Smith & Wesson long I just tested, it was hollow about halfway through it. But let's get our measurements and see what we got there. We'll start with this XTP. It started at 250 grains. And it's at 250.0, so right on the dot right there. The Wadcutter started at 225, and it's actually down to 215.9. Let me measure that again. Let me zero it out here. Yeah, 215.9 for this Wadcutter, and it was supposed to be 225, so we're a little bit off right there. I don't know what kind of manufacturing tolerances they go by, but I would assume 9 is probably out. So I don't know what's going on with that one, but it's definitely a little light in the britches. And then as far as the sizes, it looks like it's going to be a diameter and length for both of them. So the XTP, we're right about 444 with a length on that of 682. And then your Wadcutter here, same diameter, 444, but this time with a length of 543. And there you go, y'all, the 45 Colt XTP versus Wadcutter loaded by Underwood. Really, again, no surprises here. I think this Wadcutter did exactly what it was supposed to do. You're not looking for any kind of expansion. This thing looked like it's kept in a straight line right where you wanted it. So great performance right there. A little bit light, but again, I could be using a shorter barrel than what they got that from. It could just be a little bit of loss from this Judge. I mention that all the time, but there's really not much loss. I mean, yeah, there's some tolerances and cylinder gap and all that, but you're not losing that much. Probably what you would lose would be within the standard deviation, or within the extreme spread, I should say. The XTP here, on the other hand, it was definitely a failure as far as what it's supposed to do. It did not expand. It over penetrated for an expanding HP. Velocity, again, was not where it was supposed to be, but that just could be for various reasons. So with all this being said and what we're seeing right here, if I had to choose between these two out of this Judge in this specific circumstance, I personally would go with this Wadcutter. You got the same penetration, basically. You got a little bit more energy, and you don't have to worry about it tumbling and not going where you want and not expanding, because it's not made to expand anyway. All right, y'all, I'm gonna call it right there for a pretty interesting but not very impressive 45 Colt test. Once again, pretty much what I expected to see from both of these out here. That XTP, you know, we've talked about this plenty times in the past and seen it plenty times in the past, especially with a big chunky caliber like this. Those things really like to be moving. I feel like this right here with another 100, 150 FPS, it might do a little something different, but that's purely a guess. I've been looking at getting something in a rifle length to do some 45 Colt testing too. That's basically one of the only Henry calibers I don't have anyway, so I need to pick something up, because I can't really sit here and say what I would go with over this, especially in a shorter barrel like this, because I just really hadn't tested enough rounds. But like I said, if I had to choose between one of these in this situation out of that 6.5-inch Judge, it would just be the Wadcutter for me, because you're getting the same thing basically. You don't have to worry about it not expanding because it's not made to expand. You're getting basically the same penetration with a little bit more energy. But let me know what y'all think about it down in the comments. Those of y'all out there who use 45 Colt, and even those of y'all who may carry 45 Colt, let me know down in the comments if you do carry it, and if you do, what do you carry, and what do you think about the performance from these two out here today. If you did enjoy the video, take a second, if you would, and hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're supposed to be subscribed, double check and make sure you still are, and make sure you've got those notifications turned on so you get notified when I upload stuff. Once again, a reminder to check out those affiliate links in the video description. Using those links really does help out the channel, so I definitely appreciate that. Big thanks again to all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. Pretty interesting stuff done out here today, and I've got tons more on the way, so stay on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.